It is late November and the NFL playoffs are on the horizon. There are countless speculations, playoff predictions, and scenarios that will be played out in the coming weeks. This is a very fun time of the season because the next 6 weeks will determine playoff seedings, and a lot of the time, though not all the time, playoff seedings can determine who goes to the Super Bowl based off of the highly sought after home field advantage. Home field advantage is, of course, something every team in the tournament wants and is going after, but in today's video, we're going to be discussing 3 of the most dangerous teams as we inch closer towards the playoffs. And while each of the teams discussed in today's video would like to be the number 1 seed and have home field for the playoffs, I don't think any of these teams are going to be the number 1 seed in their conference. And there's a lot to break down with each team in today's video, and without further ado, let's begin. And the first team we are going to discuss in today's video is the Dallas Cowboys. I know there's a lot of people that will probably roll their eyes at this and think they are the same old Dallas Cowboys, and you can't trust Dak Prescott and every other thing you usually hear about Dallas. And while Dak, like anyone, can have a bad game, we are not focusing on the success or the struggles of Dak when discussing Dallas. The biggest thing we are going to focus on instead is the pass rush. Pass rush is emphasized heavily in the NFL because of how quickly it can change a game. There's a reason, whether it's Myles Garrett in 2017, Bradley Chubb in 2018, Nick Bosa in 2019, or whoever, there is more often than not a pass rusher taken in the top 5 every single year. 2021 was an exception as there were 3 quarterbacks taken in the top 3 picks, and the first defensive player taken that was not a corner was Micah Parsons of the Dallas Cowboys. And Micah has been not just a home run of a pick for Dallas, but a grand slam, and there is a good chance he wins the Defensive Player of the Year award in just his second season at 23 years old. He has 54 pressures on the year, along with 12 sacks in 11 games, along with a fumble recovery for a touchdown. There are times Micah takes over a game and completely changes the momentum of a game that fuels the fire for not just the Dallas defense, but the entire Cowboys team. And no game showed this more than their Week 11 beatdown of the Minnesota Vikings when they went into US Bank Stadium and won 40-3. Micah got the party started with a strip sack on Kirk Cousins on the very first drive of the game, which gave Dallas the ball in Minnesota's territory, and the onslaught was on. And while Micah is an electric player and is one of the most exciting players to watch in all of football, he's far from a one-man wrecking crew and has very viable teammates to help him out when getting to the quarterback. DeMarcus Lawrence is a good veteran defensive end, and after having a few down years relative to the seasons he's had in 2017 and 18, which were Pro Bowl years for Lawrence, he's picked it back up in 2022. He has 37 pressures this year, along with 6 sacks in 11 games, with 3 coming in a Week 3 win against the Giants. The Cowboys lead the NFL in sacks with 45, and the next closest team has 37. Pass rush translates in January, and that, combined with an efficient run game, is why the Cowboys are a dangerous team. If Zeke can't get it going like he couldn't in Week 11 against the Vikings, as he averaged just 2.8 yards per carry, then that's fine because they'll turn to Tony Pollard, who averaged 5.3 yards per carry and had an additional 109 yards receiving. This team is built to win in the postseason, and them dominating Minnesota the way they did with a suffocating pass rush and the ability to mix it up on offense is no coincidence. Would they dominate them if they meet again in January? Probably not, but I would expect them to win. This all goes without mentioning CeeDee Lamb, who is on his way to a second straight 1,000-yard season, and corner Trayvon Diggs, who is having a very good year after being under a very large amount of criticism in 2021 for giving up a ton of yards, which, as we know, was a double-edged sword due to him having an 11-interception season. The Cowboys are a very dangerous team down the stretch of the 2022 season. Next up is the Tennessee Titans, who are quietly having a very good year. When you think about the AFC in 2022, you understandably think about the Chiefs, Dolphins, or Bills, and rightfully so, and each for their own separate reasons. But the Titans have quietly went from an 0-2 team to a 7-3 team, with their only loss being to the Chiefs on a Sunday night game in which Malik Willis started. They play the Bengals in Week 12, which will be a revenge game for them, as the Bengals knocked them out of the postseason last year. Since a 41-7 loss in Buffalo, Tennessee has been clicking, and Derrick Henry has been balling. Admittedly, after they lost to Buffalo, and after they lost left tackle Taylor Lewan for the year due to a torn ACL within this game, combined with them trading A.J. Brown this offseason, I was quick to write them off and thought they were in a lot of ways done. Not to say they couldn't get to the playoffs in a bad AFC South division, of course, but that their Super Bowl chances were very much over. And they've more than responded since then. Since Week 2, they've allowed more than 20 points just twice, which was to the Raiders in Week 3, and as we said, Kansas City in Week 9. If you doubt this team and say congratulations, they held teams like the Broncos and Texans to 10 points apiece, which is what they are supposed to do, well, they beat the teams in front of them. The biggest thing for them when the playoffs roll around, because they are going to win the AFC South, is Ryan Tannehill cannot lose them a game in the playoffs. Period. He had 3 interceptions in a game against the Bengals in 2021, and in a game where they sacked Joe Burrow 9 times, they should have steamrolled them, yet they lost 19-16 and were sent home in the divisional round of the playoffs. Derrick Henry is an absolute unit that no one wants to play, and why would you? He's a 245-pound running back and presents a ton of nightmares by himself. There's a reason teams struggle to slow him down, knowing full well what the Titans' game plan is, heading into each and every game and what their point of attack is going to be. He's already over 1,000 rushing yards for the 4th time in 5 years and has double-digit rushing touchdowns for the 5th consecutive season. He's an absolute unit. But one part of the Titans that isn't getting talked about too much is a duo they have on the defensive line, and that's Denico Autry and Jeffrey Simmons. Everyone knows Simmons is a very good player, and they know he's a very good defensive tackle, but Denico Autry is having a career year and is playing no small part in the Titans' success. He has 44 pressures on the year, and this is per PFF, which ranks 9th in the NFL. For comparison, Max Crosby has 38 pressures, with 35 more pass rushing snaps played than Autry. And I know people will say Crosby has a lot more of the offensive line's attention than Autry, which is true, and I agree with you. It's not disrespect to Max, who is a hell of a player, as much as it is to show respect to the year Denico is having. Him and Simmons have been killing it for Tennessee from a pass rush standpoint, and both Tennessee and Dallas have had players step up this year in big ways. Tennessee will without a doubt host a playoff game, if not 2, and for anyone thinking, okay, yeah, it's the Titans, how could they possibly beat the Chiefs or Dolphins? Anything can happen in January, and remember, Miami's defense is their weak point, and if Tennessee could win in the trenches and keep that high-flying offense off the field, it's very reasonable to think Tennessee could win that game. But the biggest thing with the Titans is they cannot lose the turnover battle. Next up is the San Francisco 49ers, who are currently a 6-4 team and are coming off of a dominant 38-10 win against Arizona in Mexico City. I've been a little higher on the 49ers than a lot of people throughout the season and think they are very much in the Super Bowl conversation, despite their record not necessarily looking like they may be at the moment. The Cardinals game in Week 11 was the tip of the iceberg in terms of this team's potential. And sure, the Cardinals are not a good team, and are going to miss the playoffs for the 6th time in the last 7 years, but the 49ers offense is what we're focusing on from this game. They ran the ball well, as they had over 150 rushing yards as a team on over 5.5 yards per carry. Jimmy G was efficient, and they played good defense. George Kittle had his best game of the season as he had 4 catches for 84 yards and 2 touchdowns. Debo had a 39-yard run for a touchdown. Christian McCaffrey looked like his old self on top of all of this. And as simple as this sounds, when the 49ers are on offense, if they have Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Debo Samuel, and Brandon Ayuk on the field all at the same time, and heck, you can even throw in Kyle Juszczyk, who are you choosing to stop and make the focal point of your defense? In this game, Christian averaged 5.6 yards per carry, Elijah Mitchell averaged 6.6 yards per carry, Brandon Ayuk, who I do believe is an underrated receiver, touched the ball twice in this game, and both times he touched the ball, he scored. I know the 49ers are always going to hear, oh, well, Jimmy's the quarterback and Jimmy holds this team back, but is that really the case? If you look at both of their playoff losses in the Kyle Shanahan era, they played the best, or if you want to be more specific, one of the best quarterbacks of this generation in Patrick Mahomes, along with a Hall of Fame head coach in Andy Reid, and an offense that more than likely had 2 more Hall of Fame players in Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. And they held them to 10 points for the first 54 minutes of the game. And last year, obviously, the most known play in the NFC Championship game was the dropped interception, but they lost to the future Super Bowl champions by 3 points. Kyle Shanahan is 4-2 as a head coach in the postseason, and there's a reason for that. He's a great head coach and utilizes his talent well. And everyone was shocked at how much they gave up for Christian McCaffrey, but at the end of the day, if they win a Super Bowl, it's 100% going to be worth it. They will at some point have to win a road playoff game, and at the time I released this video, the Vikings and Eagles both have 9 wins, and I highly doubt the 49ers get the number 1 seed over either of these teams. But I would be scared shitless to play this team, the 49ers that is, with this many offensive weapons at their disposal. I will address this because I know a lot of 49ers critics point to this, but the Week 3 loss in Denver is a black eye in their schedule. San Fran lost 11-10 in what was Jimmy G's first start in 2022. However, those 49ers and the 49ers we're going to see from here on out are 2 entirely different teams. And if the 49ers are the 3 seed, which they very well could be, and Dallas is the 5th seed, I don't doubt a Cowboys 49ers NFC Championship game, and I can't wait to see how each side plays out. And that's all I have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please like the video and subscribe to the channel, as it would mean the world. Until next time, as always, please be safe and have a great day. Love you guys.